Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of ESS BIZTOOLS. Welcome to this webinar today that's targeted at accountants, business advisors, and bookkeepers. Business advisory services, getting started. What's involved in business advisory services? I think it's interesting to look at the reports that were produced earlier in this month by cont'd on the Accounting Market Pulse report. If you haven't read this, I'd suggest that you download it and read it because it gives a very interesting overview of the Australian accounting industry. Incidentally, if you have any questions during today's webinar presentation, can you please send me a message by going into chat box and typing in your question or your comment. If you're watching this webinar at a more convenient time for you, can you please have a look at any questions that you might have and send me an email, Peter at ESS BIZTOOLS, and I will at .com.au. So I'll say that again, Peter at ESSBizTools.com.au, and I will get back to you. We were talking about the CommBank Accounting Market Pulse report. This is the 6th year that this report has been prepared for the accountancy industry, and it makes very interesting reading. In the foreword, it's basically the executive summary. The CommBank is saying clients' needs are constantly evolving. Things are changing all the time. I think it's a very dangerous situation for an accountancy firm to be sitting, not really doing anything, but watching all this activity going on around them. I think you need to make a stance. Either you're going to be the best practitioner in Australia on tax return type work, whether you're going to outsource a significant amount of that work to overseas locations, whether you're going to add other services to it, whether you call them business advisory services or not, is very important because clients' needs are constantly changing. And clients' expectations about quality, value, the speed that's taken, the range of services keeps rising. I reread a couple of nights ago, before the federal budget actually, the original report that the CommBank team from Accounting Market Pulse wrote 6 years ago. And then they were talking about business advisory services emerging, and there were more and more firms going down that path. Well, that trend has continued, and I think it's going to continue from now on. There's no doubt that there's new forms of competition in the marketplace coming from accountants and other people, consultants, business advisors. Some bookkeeping firms are offering a wider range of services to satisfy clients, and some other people who have had experience in commerce or government are offering particular services. And the technology is changing all the time, isn't it? Technology is now available to perform tasks that were not possible some years ago. And it's improved the way that accountancy firms can deliver. How's this affecting your firm? And one of the big issues that the Accounting Market Pulse report has identified is that there is a battle raging out there for talent. And I'm going to read to you exactly what the report had to say. Firms have also had to provide a range of initiatives for staff in the battle for talent and ensure that employee skill sets keep pace with advances in technology and are aligned with clients' needs. Very important words, aligned with clients' needs. The pandemic accelerated every one of these aspects, and it has. I think COVID-19's got a lot to answer for, but it's also, in some respects, been beneficial because it's brought some of these work strategies, work practices to a head, which is the best way for firms to go. So there definitely is a battle for talent. And I'd suggest to you that firms should be looking closely at what your product mix is for your clients. And is it supplying interesting, challenging, motivating type work for your team members? Otherwise, they might move somewhere else. And the other challenge that I think accountants are facing is that the predictions now are that the economy is going to grow quite significantly. There's a bit of makeup from what was lost last year, of course. But as the economy starts roaring back into action, I think we're going to see more and more poaching from clients, from business, from industry, who will be looking to employ experienced accountants on their payrolls. So the challenge for you is to keep them involved whilst they're working for you, to supply interesting services. The CommBank report has identified two categories. The first one is they're calling leading firms. They're the firms that when they responded to their surveys, they got very positive responses relating to business confidence, the war for talent, and they identify that some firms have pulled ahead during the coronavirus. And then they called everyone else lagging firms. Not probably the most welcome title, but if firms are lagging behind the others, that's what they have defined them as. And you can find all this in the report. So let's look at the leading firms. What has the CommBank report identified the leading firms as being? They stand out for their diversity of services. Their diversity of services is what is segregating them, because they've concentrated on developing their expertise in niche areas. And we have some of those firms, of course, as our subscribers, and they're doing a great job in looking at the services that they're supplying to their clients and then making them match their clients' requirements. And I think that is very important, and I'm going to raise that a bit more later in this presentation today. And they're building their range of accounting and accounting-related services. I think we need to be resolving that an accountancy firm in 2021 needs to be supplying a virtual range of services that allows an SME client to have a in-house accountant or chief financial officer, a virtual service, because aspiring and growing and scaling up businesses need that type of support. Your clients need someone they can communicate to confidently on a regular basis as to financial and commercial issues confronting them in their business. Who else do they turn to? The technology, the communications are going to enable these types of services to be provided. Within the CommBank report, they then identified services that the accountants that they interviewed were going to pursue in the next 18 months. Now, I've selected the classification that received the most support, and that was business advisory services. There are others in the report that you can look at. A couple of the others are allied to business advisory services. Taxation still figures very predominantly, and no one who's supporting the concept of accountants offering a broader range of service expects taxation services to disappear. They will not. Although those of you who attended the Untitled Chartered Accountants 2-day webinar, virtual conference delivered by webinar a couple of weeks ago, will have noted that in the interview with a senior taxation officer, he did indicate that there is going to be more and more aspects of taxation returns, especially for businesses, under review. And there is no doubt in my mind that the tax office is going to continue to peg away at the various aspects of taxation, most definitely for wage earner tax returns, but also for some business returns, so as to reduce the amount of external work that has to be done. Because the tax office has learned a lot, I suspect, from the coronavirus, the role that they've had to play, that they can do a lot more things with the data that's already there within the banking system, within the commercial systems. Well, let's get back to the concept that come out of the CommBank report on business advisory services. They asked the question, what proportion of firms, accounting firms, are planning to enter or significantly grow business advisory services in the next 12 to 18 months? So planning to enter or significantly grow if they're already offering business advisory services. The firms that the CommBank people identified as leading firms indicated that 81% of them would be offering business advisory services. And that was the highest response to any other product question. The next closest was around 60%, which was for ongoing taxation services. They then asked the question to the firms that they had identified as lagging. And the so-called lagging firms indicated that 67% of them were going to offer business advisory services. I found that a very interesting figure, that the firms that the CommBank reviewers thought were not as aggressive, not as progressive, not as alert to what was happening in the marketplace, and they called them lagging firms, had identified that 67% of them were going to pursue business advisory services. I don't know which category our viewers of this webinar are in, of course, but I hope that those figures give you food for thought if you have not made a commitment to get heavily involved in business advisory services. So how do you get started? You need to determine what is your vision. Where are you headed with your clients? What type of services are you proposing to supply to your clients? What improvements could be made? What do you think your clients want? What's their vision? Have you been talking to them and identified the extra services that they may require? And some of them, of course, I know, won't require any services. But perhaps you need to think whether they have got a long-term arrangement with you if you are committed to broadening the range of services that you're providing. So what is your vision for your clients? What about your team members? I think these days the vision has to go beyond finishing PY years or other forms of study, but then to be able to inspire your team members that they need to continually improve their commercial knowledge and skills, that they need to have a clear understanding of their soft skills that they need, their ability to communicate, their ability to have empathy with clients, their willingness to sit down and have a conversation over a cup of coffee or a glass of wine with a client to ascertain what they're interested in doing, to work through with clients through a document like an SME needs analysis, to have a clear feedback from the client as to the type of issues that are keeping them awake, waking them at 3 a.m. And how can your team members react to those challenges? And what do you need to do if you're the principal of an accounting firm or a business advisory firm or a bookkeeping firm? What do you need to do to encourage your team members to offer these services and to stay very interested in this line of services for clients and remain with your firm? Can you meet their expectations? Can you allow them to grow with your firm? Because in lots of ways, that's what your firm will need to be doing with your clients. Say to them, we're prepared to grow with you. I know there are some aspects of business advisory services that some of you are currently not delivering. But some of your clients might require those services. And perhaps more do than what you might suspect would like you to have some of these additional services. Things like research and development and assisting clients to be able to raise capital as a private company. I know many of you have not thought about this in the past, but these are real issues that many clients need assistance with. So what's your firm doing? What's your aspiration? I honestly believe that if you're going to resolve to stay in the traditional annual accounts taxation areas, you need to be the best in Australia to continue that as an outstanding business, because it's going to become very competitive and challenging. If you want to grow into business advisory services, you need to set targets and commitments. It's just not a matter of switching on a switch and changing. There is some extra work to be undertaken, reading, participating in seminars, getting a better understanding of what happens in your individual clients' businesses, being able to drill into the figures, go to their workshop or their meatworks or their retail shop or their farm to get a better understanding of how everything works. Because if you were their full-time accountant, I think you would have been involved in activities in each of those business types that I just mentioned, so that you could get a clearer understanding of how the business works. I did all that at one stage of my career. I joined one of Australia's largest meat companies. We had operations in the whole of the eastern states of Australia. I knew nothing about meat other than I preferred rump steak to eat. But I had to learn what the industry was all about, what exporting was all about. Learned a whole lot about a whole range of export issues. That's what accountants need to do if you are going to be beneficial to the chief executive of a public company. The chief executives that you're working with most of the time are probably not in a public company. but your clients are the chief executives of their business, and they're relying on you to be their key advisor when it comes to all things financial and commercial. So what is the vision for your firm? What services do your clients require? Have you asked them? Have you taken them into your confidence that you're looking at offering a broader range of services? What would they like to receive from you? I mentioned before that we have prepared a document called the SME Needs Analysis, which is based on an original document prepared by Andrew Geddes, who was one of the founders of the Financial Management Research Centre at the University of New England many years ago. And with Andrew's permission, we've updated that document. But it's a great conversation point to sit down with a client over a cup of coffee. And quite frankly, I suggest you turn the clock off. Don't charge for that hour or maybe 2 hours of sitting there, because I'm very confident that at the end of that hour or 2 hours, you will be able to negotiate a range of services with your client, because the needs analysis will awaken that desire within your client. They want the proposal. They want to know when you're going to do it. And in some cases, they might get a bit impatient. They want it done yesterday. Why haven't you brought it to their attention before? Type questions. But you need to face up to that and look at what services your clients would like. So people say to me, okay, Peter, where do we start on this? Well, I think the first question I'd put to you is, have you asked them? Have you sat down and had a conversation? Whether it's with the SME needs analysis or not, doesn't really matter. But if you ever talk to clients about how their business functions, how do they make products? What are the costs? What's the cost of the various components? There's a lot more going on in their business on the financial side than just the preparation of the profit and loss account and balance sheet. For example, what sort of job costing records do they have? What sort of debtors system do they have? Do they know their debtors days outstanding each month? How do they control their inventory? Do they calculate regular stock turn rates and compare them to their budget forecasts? Are they preparing rolling cash flow forecasts and examining those? What's the productivity of their various team members? How does that compare to their budgets? Have they evaluated how they've set their charge out rates, whether they're a professional, a tradie, a manufacturer? These are the things that are going on in businesses that are beyond the profit and loss account and balance sheet that most accountants in public practice traditionally work with. So I think you need to start by listing your clients and segregating them into industries. How many of the various trades have you got as client? How many carpenters? How many boilermakers? How many fitters and turners? How many GP medical practitioners? How many retail stores? And if you can classify them then into similar stores, that would be great. So that you've got a clear understanding of the industries that your clients belong to. And what's the key characteristics of businesses within these industry classifications? Put it on a spreadsheet. What have they got? So let me help you with some of the things that I'd look at. First of all, do they offer credit? And if they offer credit, they've got debtors days outstanding, haven't they? And what are their debtors days outstanding? I must admit, I get a little bit disappointed at times when I say to accountants, when I'm having a conversation, how many clients have you got with debtors days outstanding in excess of 40 days? And I don't get an answer. And in fact, I get told in most cases, they don't measure debtors days outstanding. I think it's one of the most important key performance indicators that you can look at, because it's not only going to help your client if you can reduce their debtors days outstanding by improving their systems and thus generating cash flow. Doing that is work that you can do for your clients and charge them a fee. So in your conversation, you've identified the types of clients in particular industries. You've identified whether those types of businesses are offering credit. Get someone in your team to calculate the debtors days outstanding and listed. Now, if it's under 40 days, you're not going to do much to have a windfall gain for your client. So I'd probably leave them until later on. But let's look at what's over 40 days. I was conducting a seminar in a smaller coal mining type area in Queensland a couple of years ago. And someone said to me, well, what should our debtors days outstanding be? And I said to the lady, well, what's yours? What type of business are you? And it was a mechanical repair type business. How many days? Oh, we don't know. Accountants never talked to us about this. We were doing a director's corporate governance course that Oz Industry had engaged me to present all over Queensland. So I'd raised debtors days outstanding as a discussion. This is one of the aspects that a director should be looking at each month and asking questions of management. So the question got put back to me, what should it be? I said, well, what's yours? Don't know. Well, what's your turnover? And how much money is owed to you by debtors? You know, the answer was 102 days. And I looked at the lady and said, I think that's way too high. Why is it so high? Oh, that's just when they pay us. We introduced some changes into that business and got it down to around 70 days. I think it can come lower. But it was just because they started paying attention to it. They made it a specific job for one of their team. I don't know why their accountant had never done anything about it. How many of you actually calculate debtors days outstanding for each of your clients? Because there's a job. Within ESS BIZTOOLS, we have a procedure to undertake a debtors system review, and then we have an actual debtors system. It's about 40 pages. It's already pre-prepared. You can edit it if you wish. You badge it with your name and the client's name, and you can bill them $500 or $600. You've sold them a debtors system, and you should then be monitoring it. Because one of the problems with debtors is it's a job that just gets handed down within an office. Most people have never really been trained in it. I asked someone recently in an office that was in charge of debtors, what have they done about the personal property securities register? And she said, the what? Had no idea. Yet they were a business that could have had some exposure to problems that can occur. Let's go to another group of clients, tradies. There are thousands of tradie businesses around Australia. So I assume most of you have got some tradie clients. Have you reviewed their charge out rate calculations? I play golf with a couple of these guys, and I asked them one day how they worked out their charge out rates. They just said, oh, Dad used to do it somehow or other. He took a figure, and we just kept on going up by an annual increase based on CPI. I said, has it got any relationship to your costs and the productivity? Oh, no, not. Well, how are you going? Oh, I hear some of our competitors are doing a lot better. That's not the way to set charge out rates. We have a detailed calculation on a spreadsheet that our subscribers are able to then sit down and evaluate it. Recently, we had a survey done on our subscribers, and one of them indicates that he used that chart 200 plus times a year with 200 separate tradie clients to set their charge out rates based on their productivity expectations, their wages, the hours people are going to work, what the overhead costs are, what their markup philosophy is on goods and services that they have to outlay money for the client, and what their profit target is. And then they monitor it every 1 or 3 months to see how the system's going. A good earner, probably $2,000 to $3,000 per client. He's got 200 of them. What are you doing on tradie businesses? And one of the big traps I think tradie businesses have got is a complete ignorance of the Personal Property Securities Register, because they can lose their assets. Now, I've been through the debate that many times with people, tradie, how come you can lose an asset when you own it by not registering on a government website? Well, that's a question they really need to take up with the politicians, but it's the law. If you want to protect assets, you need to register them. It's too late to worry about when it's a problem. And it can be a huge problem. Even some of the top companies in the world get into problems on this legislation. The biggest loss, as far as I can ascertain, in Australia was about $70 million under this legislation. And that was a subsidiary of one of the world's major corporate entities. So if that can happen to them, it can easily happen to your tradie clients, and it has happened. On my reckoning, over $450 million has been lost by Australian businesses, mostly small businesses, through ignorance of this legislation. So why not check with your tradie clients that they're aware of it, and make sure that if they're not going to register, you have made them aware of the consequences that could occur to them, so they don't come back and have a whinge to you. So how do you get started in offering a business advisory services? You could become a ESS BIZTOOLS subscribers. We got hundreds of them around Australia, both in capital cities, major provincial cities, and in country areas. We have a 13-step training module, which we suggest that you allocate 1 hour to once a week, and bring the team that perhaps might work on business advisory services together and take them through it. Or you could do, as a couple of our subscribers have done, they sat down and did it all in a couple of days. And they got the team ready, because it is a different mindset that has to be utilized to get started. We prepare a newsletter each month called Business Plus. In fact, many of you hopefully received a copy of our special Business Plus that we prepared yesterday on the federal budget as it affects SMEs. We don't worry about, other big things that were in the budget. We try to concentrate on the issues for SMEs. Now that's gone to our members, and if you've received it, you can rebadge it with our permission and send it to your clients, because that's what our subscribers do. And they do this each month, because the normal monthly edition is available tomorrow. We upload it to our website on the second Friday of a month. And it's a document which will assist in bringing to the attention of your clients services which they could offer. Identify articles that could resonate with a client. Everyone's different. We try to include 6 or 7 articles in an edition, and hopefully someone will like some of those articles. And they'll then turn around and ask you to supply those services or to have a conversation with them. And each article finishes with a call to action. If you're interested in discussing with us how we can update our charge out rates that we're using in our business, please don't hesitate to contact the accountant in our organisation that you normally deal with. You can personalise that if you wish when you get the template of the Business Plus edition on the second Friday of a month at 12 noon, AEEST, and make that someone's name if you wanted to. That's your decision. But these articles, we believe, are going to alert your clients that you're proactive in these services and you can supply them. You could contact a client for a discussion in relation to the selected article. Accountants need to be far more proactive in your marketing, and this is marketing. The Business Plus newsletter is prepared by ESS BIZTOOLS to be a marketing tool for accountants to send to your clients. Clients hopefully will view it as an interesting read that they can broaden their knowledge on a whole range of issues relating to business. And I know some of the articles won't be very important for some of your clients, but hopefully we've put some other articles in there that are important to those people. But you could then contact your client. If we've written a letter that, an article, sorry, that concentrates on a tradie business issue, why not pick up the phone and ring your tradie clients and have a discussion with them about it? Or perhaps invite them in for a seminar or a webinar where you can communicate with them about this particular issue. Make them aware that you understand their problem. You've got some empathy with them and that you can help them. That's what the supplier business advisory services is all about. It's putting you in situ as being the in-house accountant or chief financial officer of your clients. And if you had that position on a full-time basis, you would be expected to be proactive by your employer. The employer wouldn't be expecting to have a qualified accountant on staff that the employer continually had to go to and raise questions. You are expected to be proactive, to anticipate the questions, to have the answers ready. I think it's the same thing. I think it's the way that you will really convince your client that your firm's going to be worth paying a significant more money than what they're currently paying for annual accounts and taxation services. Let's say that's $5,000 or $6,000. The average accounting fee, according to various surveys, is around $4,000 to $5,000. So let's say we got someone that's currently paying you a little bit more, $5,000 to $6,000. It doesn't take much business advisory services work to get that total fee up to $20,000 to $30,000. And if you're supplying the services, your clients will see value out of it. So contact the client, have a discussion. You need to identify the services that you could offer that particular client. You could sit down with the SME needs analysis, which is a subscriber of ESS BIZTOOLS you would have access to, and have that conversation with them, but alert them to the key areas, the ones that you believe they should be talking to you about and giving you a mandate to go ahead and do that job. Might be a review of their debtor system. Seminars and webinars are a great way to target clients. You can run a series of webinars that cover all of your clients, but then you might decide that you've got 40 clients in a particular industry that all have a similar type issue. Why not run a seminar or webinar for them so that they get an understanding that you understand their problem? There are some accountants around Australia who are specialising in a small number of industries, whether it's medical, pharmaceutical, dental, retail, or in various chains of retail. So experts in McDonald's systems or Hungry Jack's or someone else's, because they have become very familiar with the systems. They've been able to drill down into the figures. And then you're in a situation where you can follow up after a seminar or webinar to have a one-on-one discussion with your client to see what they're interested in commissioning you to do. So what products would help? Identify the characteristics. Prepare your pitch to meet the characteristics of your client. So you could offer things like, and I referred to a few of these already, charge out rates review. Should be done once a year and then followed up monthly or quarterly to see how it's going. Preparation of business plans, ideal time now. We're about to start a new financial year that can be both challenging and could present a lot of problems for some businesses. But people need to think through what's going to happen in their businesses, and writing it down is the best way. And most of your clients need someone like you as their accountant to facilitate this process. The way I do it as a consultant is sit the client's leadership team down and go through a series of questions with them, and then start writing the document, which is meant to be a summary of their views, with a bit of mine thrown in, of course. And then we bring them back together and say, now, is this what you're happy with? Because at the end of the day, it's their document to implement, not mine, it's theirs. So they've got to be comfortable with it, but they really haven't got the time or the inclination to sit down and spend hours in writing a plan. Preparation of budgets and cash flow forecasts, 3-in-1 forecasts, making sure they link with their business plan. What government grants could suit this client? There are hundreds of government grants. We've got a separate product called ESS BizGrants, which will assist you to identify grants that suit individual clients, because we've organized it in such a way that it will show you the clients for particular classifications of industry. Business health checks. This is where you drill down into the figures. Where are they getting their clients from? What's the response from various marketing campaigns? What's the gross profit being achieved? If they're a retailer, what's their mix of products and markups? And is it enough to earn an attractive profit for the business? Where would their funding come from? One of the real challenges that businesses have got, not all of them realize this, is that as they scale up into bigger businesses, they're going to need more money. Why? Because money gets outlaid into new plant and equipment, perhaps a new office. And as they offer payment terms like credit terms, they tie money up in debtors, and it's probably already tied up in inventory, and some of it might be tied up in work in progress. So they need more money. Where are they going to get it from? Well, they could try to put an application into a bank before the 30th of June to try to get one of the loans that are part of the COVID campaign that are 50% guaranteed by the Australian government. They can get up to $250,000 for working capital purposes. You've only got a few weeks to get that application together. Or they could perhaps apply for the next version of that particular loan, which is 80% guaranteed by the government, but you had to be still receiving the JobKeeper payments until the end of March. So that's reducing the clientele, but your clients could be looking at that. But as an alternative to borrowing money, Your client might be interested in understanding how capital raising works. What sort of capital could they raise as a early stage innovation company, or a crowdsourced funding equity raising company, or under Section 708 of the Corporations Act? We've got full details of all those ways of raising capital within ESS BIZTOOLS, together with templates on processes that you can implement to be able to guide your clients through this process and earn attractive fees. ESS supplies a wide range of products to assist people like you to be able to deliver outstanding services. So why not book a free 45-minute mentoring conversation with me? I'd like to have a conversation with you so I can give you a suggestion. Pardon me. As to the products that I think you would be able to gainfully use within your firm to deal with your clients' problems, and help identify the services that you could offer. You can go to our website and have a look at the material, www.essbiztools.com.au, and we also have a separate website for ESS BizGrants. Or you can send me an email if you like, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or telephone me on 1-800-232-088. We'd be happy to hear from you. We'd be happy to assist in planning a business advisory services strategy for your firm. And I forgot to check, my apologies. But I don't seem to have any requests for questions. So thank you for being with us today. If you have any questions later on, or you're watching this recording at a later date and you think of some questions then, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au. Stay safe. Have a great day. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye. And I hope the next financial year that's about to start in, 6 weeks' time, will be very successful for you. Thanks, Adrian, for your comments. And for everyone else, thank you for being with us today. And I look forward to talking to you all soon. Goodbye.